From doctors telling Charlie Morgan her baby would die instantly from double dwarfism, to the medics warning Elizabeth Kof that pregnancy was impossible after removing both fallopian tubes. These are 13 families who defied devastating medical predictions, had children anyway, and ended up with outcomes so shocking they left doctors speechless: Deborah and Chris Manning. Sometimes the most profound acts of love happen in the face of absolute medical certainty about tragic outcomes. This was the reality for Deborah and Chris Manning when they received news that would forever change their understanding of what it means to be parents, what it means to hope, and what it means to love unconditionally. At their 12-week scan, doctors noted their unborn baby didn't have a face, and by 20 weeks, a fetal medicine team diagnosed severe holoprosencephaly, microcephaly, diabetes, and epilepsy, deeming her incompatible with life, with no survival chance post-birth. The medical terminology was clinical and stark, but the human impact was devastating. Holoprosencephaly is a condition where the brain fails to divide into distinct hemispheres, often accompanied by severe facial abnormalities. Despite pressure to terminate, the couple continued, drawing hope from Deborah's upbringing with parents who fostered disabled children. This wasn't a decision made lightly or without understanding the implications. Deborah had grown up witnessing the profound value and joy that children with disabilities could bring to families. She understood both the challenges and the unexpected gifts that might await. The pregnancy continued under a shadow of medical pessimism, but Deborah found strength in an unexpected place. She felt incredibly lucky with supportive care, though she noted termination was often pushed on others in similar situations. This observation speaks to a broader issue in how medical professionals sometimes present options to families facing difficult diagnoses. Emotionally, Deborah described the fear of loss as amplifying her appreciation for Jovi and her older children, calling her perfect and a miracle who brought kindness in abundance. This transformation of perspective, where anticipated loss deepens present gratitude, became a central theme in their journey. Jovi was born in March 2021 and lived over a year, inspiring a charity called Jovi's Journey and a book to support similar families. The medical predictions of immediate death proved wrong. Jovi didn't just survive, she thrived in ways that confounded expectations. She experienced joy, brought joy to others, and created meaning that extended far beyond her short life. The story took a tragic turn when Jovi passed away in April 2022 after living 1 year and 11 days, but her impact continued growing. In April 2024, Deborah released her best-selling book, Her Story to Tell, Because Every Life Has a Purpose, detailing Jovi's miraculous journey and offering hope to families facing similar diagnoses. A May 2024 BBC article highlighted how Jovi's life sparked a new charity, Jovi's Journey, supporting parents of children with life-limiting conditions. Deborah's words echo with a mother's wisdom. She wouldn't trade the experience, even amid grief. The Manning family's story challenges us to reconsider what we mean by a successful pregnancy and what makes a life worth living. While the Mannings faced a battle, doctors said they couldn't win. Charlie and Cullen beat the odds. Charlie Morgan and Cullen Adams. Picture this. It's 2012, and two young people meet at a training camp for the World Dwarf Games. Charlie has achondroplasia, the most common type of dwarfism affecting bone growth, standing at about 127 centimeters tall, while Cullen has geliophysic dysplasia, a rare condition causing short stature and joint issues. What began as a chance meeting between two athletes quickly blossomed into something extraordinary, a love affair that would eventually challenge medical orthodoxy and inspire hundreds of thousands around the world. Charlie, who works as a teacher and runs a margarita business, and Cullen, a former stuntman with credits in films like Snow White and the Huntsman and Thor, bonded over their shared experiences of living fulfilling lives despite societal challenges and bullying. From early in their relationship, they dreamed of starting a family, viewing parenthood as what Charlie would later call a natural extension of their kick-ass lives. But when they approached doctors about having children, they hit a wall of medical opposition that seemed insurmountable. The genetic mathematics were stark and terrifying. Doctors strictly advised against pregnancy, warning that their differing dwarfism genes created a 25% chance of the child inheriting both conditions, double dominant dwarfism, which is typically fatal, often resulting in stillbirth or death shortly after birth due to severe skeletal and organ complications. The other possibilities were 25% chance of achondroplasia like Charlie, 25% geliophysic dysplasia like Cullen, and 25% average height. The medical risks extended far beyond genetics. Additional risks for Charlie included included maternal health threats during pregnancy, such as spinal compression from her short stature, potential breathing difficulties, and increased likelihood of cesarean delivery. It was a daunting list of potential complications that would have deterred many couples. But Charlie and Cullen saw something different in their situation. As Charlie would later share in interviews, "I don't think either of us ever thought of it individually, the option to not have kids because of a chance that they could be like us, because as far as we're concerned, we live a kick-ass life." This wasn't naive optimism. It was a profound statement about the value and joy they found in their own existence. Their first pregnancy in 2015 was unplanned but welcomed, though fraught with anxiety. At 3 months, genetic testing confirmed the risks, and doctors reiterated termination recommendations. The emotional toll was immense, but they pressed forward. Charlie experienced typical pregnancy challenges amplified by her stature, including fatigue and mobility issues, but no major complications arose. When their daughter Tilba was born in early 2016 via C-section at full term, she inherited achondroplasia like her mother, one of the better possible outcomes. Tilba weighed a healthy amount and has thrived, facing minor issues like potential joint problems, but living an active life with her parents' support. Emboldened by their success, they tried again. For their second child, conceived in 2017, similar warnings persisted, but the pregnancy progressed smoothly with regular monitoring. Tully was born in 2018, inheriting geliophasic dysplasia like Cullen. She has been described as joyful and full of life, meeting milestones despite her condition's potential for heart and joint complications. But it was their third pregnancy that would truly test their resolve. Announced in September 2020, it was the most emotionally charged. Charlie posted a powerful ultrasound photo on Instagram, acknowledging the tiny piece of the puzzle of risks and calling for kindness amid doubts. In what became a viral post, she wrote with raw honesty, "Here you are, baby, for now." The outcome? Son Rip was born in March 2021 without either condition, expected to grow to average height, a 25% outcome that brought overwhelming gratitude and defied the direst predictions. Today, Charlie's Instagram has over 342,000 followers, where she shares family adventures like beach trips and rock climbing to normalize dwarfism, and recent 2025 updates show the family thriving, with all 3 children happy and healthy despite varying statures. Michael and Michelle Bauer. The journey to parenthood isn't always straightforward, and for Michael and Michelle Bauer, it began with 2 years of struggle, heartbreak, and hope. They struggled for 2 years to conceive before Michelle's pregnancy with Lacey in December 2019. When that positive test finally appeared, their joy seemed complete. But life had other plans. At 20 weeks, an ultrasound revealed spina bifida with a lemon-shaped head and spinal bubble, prompting doctors to advise termination due to predicted paralysis and poor quality of life. Spina bifida occurs when the spinal cord doesn't develop properly, often leaving parts of the spine exposed. The lemon-shaped head, doctors observed, is a telltale sign on ultrasound that often indicates the condition will be severe. The medical prognosis was grim. Doctors painted a picture of a child who might never walk, never have bladder or bowel control, and face a lifetime of medical complications. For many parents, such a diagnosis feels like a death sentence for their dreams of a normal family life. But Michelle's response was immediate and unwavering. Refusing termination, Michelle declared her love for the baby and opted for risky in utero spinal surgery at 24 weeks. This wasn't a simple decision. In utero surgery for spina bifida is complex, risky, and not always successful. The surgery lasted 3.5 hours with 35+ professionals involved, a massive medical undertaking that speaks to both the complexity of the procedure and the hope invested in its success. Following the surgery, Michelle endured terrifying bed rest for 3 months, monitored constantly for fetal risks. Imagine 3 months of uncertainty, lying still while your baby develops, wondering if the surgery worked, if your child will survive, and what kind of life awaits your family. Lacey was born July 20th, 2020, via C-section at 6 pounds 9 ounces, spending 18 days in the NICU with feeding issues and hyperextended knees from partial paralysis. Those early days must have been a mixture of relief that she was alive and anxiety about what her disabilities might mean for her future. But Lacey had other plans. Michelle felt blessed by Lacey's progress, defying odds as she sat, rolled, and spoke early. At 19 months, Lacey climbed and walked with support, bringing joy despite ongoing toilet assistance needs. The child doctors said might never walk was not just walking but climbing and exploring her world with determination. The most recent updates are even more remarkable. Lacey, now 5, marked the 5th anniversary of her spina bifida diagnosis with a benefit fundraiser in March 2025, and recent 2025 videos show her defying expectations, standing independently in August and attempting walks in July, with family calling her a fighter wonder and miracle. While one child defied the odds of disability, another defied the very rules of biology. Elizabeth Cove. In the world of medicine, some things are considered impossible. When doctors remove both of a woman's fallopian tubes, natural pregnancy should be medically impossible. The fallopian tubes are the pathways eggs travel from the ovaries to the uterus. No tubes should mean no pregnancy. But sometimes, the human body defies medical understanding in ways that can only be described as miraculous. Elizabeth Cove, 39 and mother of 3, had both fallopian tubes removed in 2015 via bilateral salpingectomy for contraception and ovarian cancer risk reduction, confirmed by pathology. This wasn't a minor procedure or a partial removal. Both tubes were completely surgically removed and examined to confirm their absence. The procedure was done for sound medical reasons, to prevent future pregnancies and reduce her risk of ovarian cancer. 3 years later, Elizabeth began experiencing familiar symptoms that seemed impossible given her surgical history. A positive pregnancy test shocked her. Doctors theorized an egg migrated via a rare fistula. A fistula is an abnormal connection between organs. In Elizabeth's case, medical experts believe a microscopic pathway somehow formed that allowed an egg to travel from her ovary to her uterus, bypassing the need for fallopian tubes entirely. The pregnancy was high risk due to her advanced age, but remarkably smooth, though surreal. She panicked initially, then felt happy and very blessed, hugging son Benjamin tighter as an angel baby. The psychological impact of an impossible pregnancy must have been enormous. First, the shock and disbelief, then the wonder and gratitude for what felt like a divine intervention. Benjamin was born March 14th via C-section at 7 pounds 6 ounces, with no major complications arising during the pregnancy. The birth was routine, which made the circumstances all the more extraordinary. Here was a perfectly healthy baby born from a medically impossible pregnancy. Elizabeth views it as a rare miracle, with only 3 similar cases documented in medical literature. Think about that statistic for a moment. In all of medical history, only 3 similar cases have been documented. This wasn't just unlikely, it was virtually unprecedented. While Elizabeth's story amazed doctors, the de Ruiters faced predictions that seemed impossible to survive. Megan and Neil de Ruiter. Genetic diagnoses can feel like death sentences, especially when they come with names like trisomy 13. This chromosomal condition, also known as Patau syndrome, occurs when a child has 3 copies of chromosome 13 instead of the typical 2. The medical literature is stark about its prognosis, but the de Ruiter family's experience with their daughter Anna shows that genetic conditions exist on a spectrum that medical predictions don't always capture. Megan and Neil de Ruiter's pregnancy with Anna involved a trisomy 13 diagnosis, a genetic disorder varying in severity, initially described as a death sentence. Anna's milder form lacked fatal defects. The diagnosis came as a crushing blow to parents who had dreamed of a healthy child, but medical genetic counselors helped them understand that trisomy 13 exists on a spectrum. At Cincinnati Children's Fetal Care Center, detailed MRIs informed decisions without pressure, treating Anna as valued rather than pushing any particular course of action. This approach, providing information while respecting parental autonomy, stands in contrast to the experiences of many other families who felt pressured toward termination. Megan felt evolving hope as Anna survived pregnancy milestones, focusing on her happiness over dire predictions. This shift in focus, from medical prognosis to present joy, became crucial to their journey. Instead of living in constant fear of loss, they learned to celebrate each day. Anna continued to thrive. The birth brought more surprises. Anna had no breathing issues at birth. She needed oxygen for sleep apnea, therapy for seizures, heart and eye conditions, and dietary support. While she certainly faced medical challenges, they were manageable rather than immediately life-threatening. Now over 1 year old, Anna smiles, laughs, rolls, and eats varied foods, enjoying a good quality of life with family activities like Halloween. She participates in family life in ways that bring joy to everyone around her. In September 2024, a podcast episode celebrated Anna's 5th birthday, with mother Megan discussing Anna's strong presentation despite her trisomy 13 prognosis and her ongoing quality of life. While one child's life challenged predictions softly, the next did so against the loudest warnings. Deirdre and Michael Hoffman. The phrase "incompatible with life" is perhaps the most devastating thing expectant parents can hear. It suggests that their unborn child has no chance of survival, that love and hope are pointless, that the pregnancy should end immediately. But the Hoffman family's journey with their daughter Journey Love challenges the finality of such medical pronouncements. Deirdre and Michael Hoffman were told their daughter had trisomy 13, labeled incompatible with life, with a median expectancy of 7 to 10 days, and advised to prepare for hospice. The medical establishment seemed certain certain this child would not live. Preparation for grief seemed more appropriate than preparation for parenthood. They continued the pregnancy. Journey Love Hoffman was born full term and turned 2 in December 2020, surpassing milestones despite surgeries for issues like a tethered spinal cord. The fact that she not only survived, but thrived enough to celebrate multiple birthdays flies in the face of medical predictions. The reality of Journey's condition has been complex. Given 7 to 10 days to live, Journey faced heart defects, hernia risks, pneumonia, tethered cord, UTI, and spinal cyst, regressing abilities like standing. She requires tube feeding and struggles with sleep and pain. Her medical journey has been challenging, requiring constant vigilance and care. Deirdre feels overwhelmed yet competent, confined by caregiving without reliable nursing, longing for normalcy, but viewing Journey as a light, challenging the incompatible label. The emotional toll on caregivers in such situations is enormous, but Deirdre has found meaning and purpose in advocating for children who receive similar diagnoses. Gratitude prevails as Journey, now over 2, exceeds milestones like rolling, sitting, and eating solids, with a fully formed brain and joy-filled life. The latest updates show continued progress. Journey appeared in a June 2025 Instagram post, ready to follow in Big Sis Savvy's footsteps at the University of Oregon, showcasing family pride and her continued involvement in activities. While one family learned to cherish every day, another learned to chase dreams once thought unreachable. Christine and Gavin McCombs. Multiple miscarriages can break a couple's spirit, making each subsequent pregnancy feel like walking on emotional eggshells. When Christine and Gavin McCombs finally achieved a pregnancy that progressed to 20 weeks, they should have been celebrating. Instead, they received devastating news that would test their resolve in unimaginable ways. Christine and Gavin McCombs endured multiple miscarriages before Christine's pregnancy with Hallie, who was diagnosed at 20 weeks with spina bifida, spine outside body, and hydrocephalus, brain fluid swelling. After suffering the heartbreak of losing multiple pregnancies, being told their viable pregnancy carried such serious complications must have felt like cruel irony. Doctors predicted no walking, essentially describing her as nearly vegetative. The medical team painted the bleakest possible picture: a child who would never walk, never be independent, never have what most people would consider a meaningful life. For many parents, such predictions would feel like losing a child before she was even born. Hallie underwent spinal surgery and multiple brain surgeries. Pain persists after short runs, with limited feeling below knees. The early years were filled with medical procedures, uncertainty, and gradual realization that their daughter was defying every prediction made about her capabilities. Christine felt initial anguish in Brisbane, but amazement at Hallie's determination post-move to Bundaberg for lifestyle change. Sometimes a change in environment can unlock potential that seemed impossible. The family's move seemed to coincide with Hallie's remarkable development. The transformation has been extraordinary. Hallie now runs, sets records in track and field, and eyes Paralympics at age 11, defying odds with rare bad days. The child doctors said would never walk is now an elite athlete competing at national levels and dreaming of representing her country on the world's biggest sporting stage. Recent updates show continued success. Hallie's inspiring story was republished in July 2025 by Reader's Digest, and in September 2024, she returned to competitions after double knee surgery in May, continuing to aim for Paralympics. While one child battled the body, another woman battled a lifetime of infertility, Kenitra Barnes. Being told you can never have biological children feels like a door slamming shut on fundamental dreams of parenthood. For many women, such a diagnosis redirects life toward adoption or childlessness. But Kenitra Barnes' story shows that sometimes medical certainty about infertility can be as unreliable as any other medical prediction. Kenitra was informed by doctors she could never have biological children, leading her to foster instead. For 30 years, she poured her maternal energy into fostering children who needed homes, love, and stability. This wasn't a consolation prize for her. It was meaningful work that made a real difference in countless lives. Then something unexpected happened. Defying the prognosis, she naturally conceived and gave birth to 4 children, plus adopting a 5th, raising them as a single mother after her husband's death while pursuing teaching and community goals. Not one miracle pregnancy, but 4 natural conceptions that medical science said were impossible. Life challenges included financial strain and her own unstable childhood due to her mother's drug use, fostering empathy that helped her connect with vulnerable children. Kenitra's difficult background didn't embitter her. Instead, it gave her unique insight into what children need to thrive, despite challenging circumstances. Kenitra felt deep love for all her children, committing to experiences like trips to Florida and San Diego Zoo via savings and Up Together Fund support. Despite financial limitations, she prioritized creating joyful memories and opportunities for her children to experience the world beyond their immediate circumstances. Now, with 5 children, 1 adopted, she pursues teaching longing and dreams of opening a youth group home, emphasizing living fully over merely surviving, with family openness to continued fostering. Kenitra's vision extends beyond her own family to creating opportunities for other young people who need guidance and support. While one mother overcame impossibility in conception, another battled impossibility in survival. Laura and Elsie. Premature birth at 27 weeks carries enormous risks, especially when complicated by brain injury. When doctors tell parents their child has a 50% chance of cerebral palsy, the future can seem overwhelmingly uncertain. But Laura's journey with her daughter Elsie demonstrates how early intervention, maternal instinct, and sheer determination can overcome even the most daunting medical predictions. Laura's pregnancy with Elsie involved bleeding until week 14 and endometriosis cramps. At 27+4 weeks, sudden labor led to hemorrhage and retained placenta, requiring emergency theater intervention. The pregnancy had been challenging from the start, with early bleeding that would have concerned any expectant mother. When premature labor began, it became a medical emergency that threatened both mother and baby. Elsie was born prematurely and spent 10 weeks in the NICU on CPAP and oxygen support. A brain scan revealed PVL, periventricular leukomalacia, brain injury with a 50% cerebral palsy risk. PVL is a type of brain injury that affects the white matter around the brain's ventricles, often leading to motor and cognitive impairments. The 50% chance of cerebral palsy hung over the family like a storm cloud. The emotional toll was devastating. The diagnosis left Laura struggling with depression and PTSD, made worse by COVID restrictions that limited family support and hospital visits. Imagine facing your child's uncertain future while isolated from the support systems you desperately need, watching your baby fight for life through a fog of your own mental health struggles. But Laura refused to accept despair as her only option. Desperate for hope, she researched positive outcomes and started intensive physiotherapy, feeling guilt but trusting her maternal instincts despite family doubts about the aggressive therapy approach. This decision to pursue intensive early intervention, despite skepticism from others, became crucial to Elsie's remarkable development. The results speak for themselves. Elsie, now 3, walks, runs, and climbs with advanced speech and only minor leg tightness requiring orthotics, truly a miracle, defying medical odds. The child, who had a 50% chance of severe cerebral palsy, is now an active, verbal, cognitively normal preschooler whose only reminder of her difficult start is minor leg stiffness managed with supportive braces. Laura advises other parents facing similar diagnoses to manage guilt through early intervention and trusting parental instincts. Her message to other families is powerful. Don't let statistical predictions become self-fulfilling prophecies, and don't underestimate the power of early, intensive intervention combined with a mother's intuition. While hope was fragile in NICU, another hope depended on transplanted organs surviving each day. Brooke Lilly. Having one organ transplant creates lifelong medical complexity. Having 2 organ transplants while pursuing pregnancy seems almost incomprehensibly risky. But Brooke Lilly's determination to become a mother, despite heart and kidney transplants, created a medical case study in courage, faith, and the power of human determination to overcome seemingly impossible odds. Brooke Lilly had a heart transplant at 15 months for cardiomyopathy and a kidney transplant in 2019, donated by her boyfriend, now husband, yet defied warnings of severe pregnancy risks due to her conditions. Think about the complexity of this medical situation. 2 major organ systems replaced, requiring lifelong immunosuppressive medications with all the associated risks that pregnancy would bring to both transplanted organs. Determined through faith, she conceived on her heart transplant's 26th anniversary, a timing that felt divinely orchestrated. The symbolism of conceiving on such a significant medical anniversary wasn't lost on Brooke, who saw divine timing in what others might consider dangerous coincidence. The pregnancy wasn't without serious complications. Complications included preeclampsia, leading to Lauren's birth at 32 weeks with a NICU stay. Preeclampsia in a double transplant recipient creates cascading risks, not just for the pregnancy, but for the transplanted organs that keep the mother alive. Brooke felt divine blessing in achieving motherhood and now competes in transplant games with Lauren, who is full of personality and healthy. The transplant games represent more than athletic competition. They're a celebration of life after transplantation, showing the world that organ recipients can not only survive, but thrive. Recent updates show the family continues to navigate their unique medical situation. Brooke shared a July 2025 update describing recent days as a whirlwind, likely health-related, with ongoing mentions of Lauren's development and personality. While one child thrived despite fragile organs, another faced the cruelest countdown imaginable from birth, Samantha Perryman and Stephen. Being told your unborn child will die within minutes of birth is perhaps the cruelest prediction any parent can receive. It offers no hope, no possibility for connection, no chance to love and be loved in return. But Samantha Perryman and Stephen's decision to continue their pregnancy despite such devastating predictions created space for miracles that medical science couldn't foresee. Samantha Perryman and Stephen were advised at 24 weeks to terminate due to rare rachis spina bifida, with doctors predicting their baby would die minutes after birth. Rachis is an extremely severe form of spina bifida, where the spinal cord is completely exposed, with only one known survivor documented at the time of their diagnosis. Samantha chose continuation, feeling it wrong to end an active pregnancy despite medical predictions, even with only one known survivor. This wasn't denial of medical reality. It was a conscious choice to give their daughter whatever chance she might have, however small. The moment of birth brought the first surprise. Leona Grace was born November 18th via C-section at 7 pounds 8 ounces, 5.5 weeks early, and cried immediately, relieving immediate fears about survival. That first cry, the sound doctors said they'd never hear, became a moment of profound hope and joy. The medical journey has been complex and ongoing. Complications required spinal surgery, hydrocephalus shunts, treatment for PDA, patent ductus arteriosus, scoliosis management, and accommodation for missing and fused ribs, leaving her oxygen-dependent but alive. Each surgery, each medical intervention represents another day of life that wasn't supposed to happen. Samantha has good days and bad days, but maintains gratitude for every moment, calling Leona Grace a miracle, with hopes to eventually wean her from oxygen, despite an 80–90% chance she'll never walk. The family celebrates milestones that medical predictions said would never come. Leona Grace celebrated her first birthday in 2020, marking a full year of life in defiance of predictions of mere minutes. If one family's miracle was against fatal medical certainty, the next would be against the very edge of life itself. Curtis and Courtney Hutchinson. Viability, the point at which a baby can survive outside the womb, is generally considered to begin around 22 to 24 weeks of pregnancy. Babies born before this threshold face overwhelming odds against survival, with those born at 21 weeks given virtually no chance of life. But Richard Hutchinson's story rewrote medical understanding of what's possible at the very limits of human survival. Curtis and Courtney Hutchinson faced Richard's birth at 21 weeks after Courtney's early labor. Given 0% survival odds, he spent 118 days in the NICU. 0%, not low odds, not poor prognosis, but mathematical certainty that their son would not survive. Medical teams don't typically even attempt resuscitation at 21 weeks because survival seems impossible. The physiological challenges were staggering. Richard faced lung issues, ventilator dependence, and growth deficits from missing crucial womb development time. At 21 weeks, a baby's lungs are nowhere near ready to breathe air. The digestive system can't process nutrition properly. The brain is still developing critical structures. Every organ system is underdeveloped and unprepared for life outside the protective environment of the womb. Parents felt initial despair, but growing hope as Richard defied every expectation, ultimately going home on Christmas Day 2020, healthy and thriving. Imagine the emotional journey from being told your child has no chance of survival through 118 days of uncertainty in the NICU to finally bringing home a healthy baby on Christmas morning. Richard broke a Guinness World Record as the world's most premature infant to survive, though later surpassed by Curtis Means, also born at 21 weeks, with the family emphasizing his miracle status amid their emotional roller coaster of fear and gratitude. The fact that Richard's record was later broken by another 21-week survivor suggests that medical understanding of viability limits continues to evolve. Recent updates show Richard continuing to thrive. As of 2025, Richard's record was surpassed, but he continues to develop normally post 118 NICU days, proving that the impossible can become not just possible, but wonderfully normal. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, click on one of the boxes playing on your screen to watch more similar content.